The search for kidnapped 84-year-old woman Nancy Guthrie is now in its fourth day, and more is leaking out from sources that seem to be directly connected to the investigation, though I should say we can't verify that. There are some reporters that I trust who say that they have sources. And there are some people that I really don't trust all that much. And in this case, it's a reporter that I do trust. But things have been leaking out, including information about DNA evidence, about forensic digital evidence, and maybe even a suspect, though I think we need to be very careful about this in our discussion. You know that we will, because here on this channel, we do our best to avoid the sensationalism in true crime. We want to cut past the fluff. We want to cut past all the sensationalism. But there might be, we're going to be very careful. We're going to temper our words and our thoughts with humanity and with compassion, but we're going to talk about it. Stay with me. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friend, and welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish. I am so glad that you have joined me from wherever you are joining me. Is that the way to say that? From wherever from which you are for to be, possibly wherever you're joining me from. I know we're not supposed to dangle those things, but wherever you're joining me from, I am certainly glad that you are. And you know what, guys, before we get into the case, okay? Today has been a remarkably good day. Let me tell you why. Okay. I got a text from my sister. This might be the earliest tangent in the history of the show. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if this qualifies as a tangent. It's not tangentially connected. It's just story time. But listen, I got a text from my baby sister today saying, "Hey, do you remember?" And she gave me the name of a person. I was like, yeah, yes, of course I remember that person. I was in love with that person in 6th grade. She was my girlfriend. She was my one and only for 6th grade Gavin Fish. And anyway, it turns out that her sister watches the old show and was talking to her sister about it. And she's like, "Gavin Fish, is that the same?" That is the same Gavin Fish. Anyway, that led to us being reconnected for the first time since like 9th grade. That would be 1990. Something like that. Anyway, what a terrific day. And then, guys, I got reconnected, speaking of high school, with he and I have been Facebook friends for a while, but today we actually spoke, and that is my high school photo teacher, the guy who set me on a path for my life. Certainly one of my top 2 teachers. I think he's tied for first place. And my 6th grade teacher also tied for first place. But yeah, so I've been in touch with my 6th grade not 6th grade, sorry, my high school photo teacher. Had him for 3 years. And basically the hobby that I love and have loved since I was 13 years old is partly due to him, which, and anyway, hopefully he and I are going to get together sometime soon. So what a great day, right? Great day. Now, yesterday at the end of the show, I left you at the cliffhanger. I asked you guys, did you notice anything different about the background? Now, I'm going to give you a hint right now. The background is back to the way it was before, but yesterday, I'm so excited about this, guys. Yesterday, I had another thing on the desk behind me next to the typewriter. I'm going to show you. I had this camera on the desk. This is a Mamiya RZ67 Pro 1. It was manufactured in 1980. Now, I am no stranger to the medium format camera, but I have wanted this camera since about 1990, and I took possession of a terrific example of the model just yesterday. And hopefully, as I set up my or reset up my darkroom, I will be using more of this camera, and it'll probably be on the desk behind me from here on out. You guys who don't know me well, I am a photography nerd, and I love cameras. I love mechanical things. Listen to this. Just listen to this. This is a twin lens. I'm sorry, a single lens reflex medium format. Listen to this. Oh, hold on. Oh, such a great sound. Such a great sound. All right, guys, enough of this jocularity, enough of this horsing around. We have got a very important case to talk about today, and that is the case of missing 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. Nancy is the mother of today host and anchor Savannah Guthrie. She has been missing since Sunday. The last time she was seen, I should say, maybe a better way of saying it, was Saturday night around 9:30, 9:45. She has a heart condition. She was taken, according to the sheriff. She was kidnapped. She's not missing. She did not wander off. She does not have cognitive issues. She is sharp. She is bright. She is with it. And she is no longer, her whereabouts are no longer known. She is a woman who it's described she can't go more than 50 yards without help, right? She's an aged person, and she wouldn't be able to just wander off. Plus, there was some evidence left behind showing some foul play. Now, yesterday, we introduced ourselves, at least on this channel. I know a lot of you have been following this since Sunday, but we introduced ourselves to the case. We took a look at the press conference that the sheriff there in Pima County, Arizona, this is the Tucson area, held. There was some maybe, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. There was some thoughts that the sheriff really didn't share anything. I actually disagreed. I think you had to read a little bit between the lines, but there was some new information shared there. Now, today, it seems like there's more, but it's coming in unofficially. A couple things. This happened actually yesterday. And so actually, if you're new to the channel, I never strive to be the first to break news. Like, I'm not in a position to. I'm a dude who's an enthusiast and a journalist out here in Western Pennsylvania. I'm not on the ground. I'm not boots on the ground. I wish I was, though probably not. I don't, my traveling days are behind me, but it's not like I'm out there in Arizona knocking on doors and stuff like that. Fortunately for us, there are reporters, very, very good journalists like Brian Enton, who is boots on the ground and is giving us some good reports. So I never strive to be the first to share anything. What I do strive to do is dig in, go deep down the rabbit hole, look at the different angles, be thoughtful and I guess inquisitive about the things that we learn. Okay. So the first thing that I want to bring up is this photo right here, which is a photo from News Nation. It was, I think, captured by either Brian Enton or one of his producers, showing what appears to be blood spatter, blood droplets on the front porch of Nancy Guthrie's home. Now, we learned from the press conference yesterday, and let's see if I can push the right buttons here. From this press conference yesterday, that they had been able to get DNA evidence from, and we'd learned this before, but it was reiterated yesterday that they had been able to get DNA evidence from the crime scene, but that at least so far, none of it pointed to a suspect. If there is this much evidence on the front porch, then perhaps there's even more inside. Now, the sheriff has not told us why he believes it's a crime scene. He just says, because of our experience, we saw several things in there that lead us to believe that she was kidnapped, that she was taken, that this is a crime scene. Now, I don't know. I don't know if police have taken swabs of this evidence, and we can zoom up in on it a little bit. Let me see if I can. Let's see, fish. See if we can maybe get it a little bit bigger here. Goodness. Yeah, maybe just bring it up right in there. They do look like droplets that have fallen down, though there is a little bit of misting, uh, you know, in some of that. I don't know if this particular piece has been swabbed and has been taken for evidence, but that does seem like not an insignificant amount of blood. Of course, police would say it appears to be blood. We don't know that it's blood until it is tested. A reporter like myself sitting in my office in Western Pennsylvania, I can look at that and say, yeah, I think the likelihood is it's blood. But I also wonder, if there's this much blood on the front porch, will there be more in the house? Now, the other thing in this photo that I wanted to bring up to you, and we'll talk about this a little bit, is the mount for a Ring doorbell style camera. I'm not saying it's a Ring camera, but like a video conference style doorbell camera. And of course, the doorbell or the camera itself is missing. Now, the sheriff yesterday and before said that cameras were smashed, that they were taken in for evidence. Don't know if this is one or not. The other thing is, we don't know if this had anything to do with the crime that apparently has occurred here, or if it is something like, I don't know, she cut herself while opening a letter, or had a bloody nose, or something. We don't know that this is necessarily directly related to the crime scene, but I think that the likelihood is that it is related to the crime scene. You know what I forgot to do? You know what I forgot to do, guys? I just love doing this. I forgot to ask you, wherever you're joining from, please tell me in the comments section. I just love knowing where you're coming from. We got Minnesota. This is Robin, one of our amazing mods. Home of the hot dish, wild rice in Minnesota. Nice people. Yes, indeed. And I do love myself a good hot dish. Thank you very much for being here, Robin. Man, I just refreshed. Let's just see if you guys are checking in. I know a lot of people check in. San Jose, Emmy is here. Oregon is here. Jacksonville, Florida is here. Thank you very much. Kentucky, but from Kansas, northern New Mexico, England is here. Blitzkrieg is saying, hey, police are denying Banfield's claims. We're going to get into what Banfield said. Okay. Now, Ashley Banfield is a reporter that I admire and respect. If she says that she has a source, she has a source. I mean, we have to have our skeptical hats on. That's what that hat is back there. That's my skeptical hat. We need to wear those every once in a while. But I do think that Banfield has a good source, and we're going to talk about what she said, including the prime suspect. But we're going to be careful about it because, listen, when investigations begin, there's an order to them, right? So they have to suspect everybody, and they usually start with family. So if you take anything from this here podcast here, I am not saying that the person that Ashley Banfield says is a prime suspect, I'm not saying that person is. But we're going to talk about it a little bit. Let's see. Lebu Grizzly, first time as a member. Look at that little shark tail right there. Looking good, from Brazil. Thank you very much for being here. Manassas, Virginia is here. North Carolina, Maine, Kentucky. Let's see. Lakeland, Florida, South Lake Tahoe, Kansas, Sending everybody love from the UK. Thank you very much. Rochester, New York. A couple more before we go. Perth, Australia. You might be the winner for farthest away. Egypt is in the house. So cool. You guys are awesome. Thank you very, very much for. Oh, Bermuda. Happy Hump Day from Bermuda. Thank you. East Frisia, Northern Germany is in the house. So very cool. So very cool. Thank you very much for tuning in. Okay. Before we get to Banfield, let's talk a little bit about what has been reported in the print media just a little bit. This one on page 6. This was from earlier today. I have one from earlier today and one from later this afternoon from CNN. So page 6 says FBI agents visit Savannah Guthrie's sister's house as desperate search for mom Nancy continues. It's written by Antoinette Bueno. Law enforcement agents, including FBI and sheriffs, were photographed leaving Annie's home after a 2-hour meeting Tuesday afternoon where Savannah is also believed to be. Officials said nothing as they left the property. Savannah and Annie's 84-year-old mother, Nancy Guthrie, has been missing since Sunday. Annie was the last person to see Nancy after bringing her back to her house from dinner Saturday night. Police believe Nancy was likely abducted from her home in Tucson. A spokesperson for the Pima County Sheriff's Department told Page 6 Monday that investigators believe Nancy was, quote, taken from the home against her will, possibly in the middle of the night. And there's a little bit of information coming from Ashley Banfield on that. Again, keeping our skeptic hats on, but I tend to believe that there is a well-placed source there. In alarming new footage, News Nation posted Tuesday an apparent blood trail that was seen outside the door of Nancy's home with the dark blood splatter or spatter noticeable on the brown tiles leading up to the door. Of course, that is what we have been looking at over the last couple of minutes. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos appeared on CNN Monday night and said that based on his 50 years on the job, he had a gut feeling Nancy was abducted. This is an elderly woman in her mid-80s who suffers from ailments. She couldn't go 50 yards, he pointed out. There is that picture that we talked about before. Nanos also told Us Weekly that Nancy's disappearance has been tough on Today Show host 54 and her siblings, Annie and brother Cameron. Savannah's husband, Michael Feldman, exclusively told Page 6 on Tuesday, this would be yesterday morning, that he doesn't have anything new to report in the search for Nancy. The public relations and communications consultant 57 added that he's just being responsive but feels mostly unhelpful in the devastating situation. One of the things that I really admire about this family, guys, is, and if I could add the sheriff's department and I guess by association the FBI here, they are utilizing the media in order to get more word out there, more tips. And I think that is a smart thing to do. I don't know. I just really hate it when they will lock themselves down. They won't say anything. Now there are certain things that they can't say to us. They can't tip us off on a lot of things. And we respect that and understand that. But the things that they can tell us, I'm glad they do in order to get more eyeballs on this. Maybe somebody has seen Nancy somewhere. Maybe they saw her driving in a car. Maybe they checked their Ring cameras or Nest cameras and they have seen her. It's possible, right? And this reminds me, and this, don't worry, I'm not segueing into sponsored content here, but I just want to say that it's been reported that this little area that Nancy Guthrie lives in is more of a rural area. The home lots are like an acre, all the way up to like 4 acres, I've heard. There are no street lights, and so it's very dark. It's probably the way people like it out there, right? But guys, if you don't have cameras on your house that can see in the dark, please get them. There are cameras now that see full color in the dark and full HD. Please, and it's not much of an investment. I don't want to like downplay it. Money's money and money's tight for everybody, but get cameras. Okay? You don't have to get a subscription. You can You can order really great systems that can see in the dark, can do so in color, and in cases like this could really, really help authorities. But anyway, enough of that rant. I'm really grateful that that the sheriff's office and the Guthrie family are being responsive to the media in such a trying, difficult time. I mean, their mother is gone, and how could life be any more stressful or overwhelming than that, right? It's comparison is the thief of joy, of course, but you guys know what I'm getting at. They're in a tough spot here, and my heart goes out to them, and we certainly are, and they have called for prayers. They've called on the public to join them in prayer that their mother Nancy can be returned to them. And I encourage you, if that is something that you do, to join in, however it is that you do it. Okay. The next article I want to show you came from CNN. Before we get into Banfield stuff, let me bring it up right here. Savannah Guthrie's mother's missing. This came out this afternoon. Sheriff probes possible ransom notes while pacemaker data could speak to timeline. There were questions about a timeline in the press conference yesterday. Sheriff was a little cagey about it. I'm not. I don't want to mischaracterize the way he was. He has good reason to be that way, but he was pretty cagey about it. He's like, the timeline we have is 9:45 p.m. to 11 a.m. That's the timeline. But there is information coming out that speaks to maybe when Nancy Guthrie went missing. And then we'll talk a little bit about these ransom notes that we talked a little bit about yesterday. Some of the most recent evidence in the desperate search for Nancy Guthrie, who wrote this, by the way, Andy Rose. Thank you, Andy. Some of the most recent evidence in the desperate search for Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today host Savannah Guthrie, is also among the case's most disturbing purported ransom notes sent to media outlets. Investigators have not confirmed whether the three similar notes are legitimate, but the sheriff of Arizona's Pima County said Tuesday he was absolutely not dismissing them. When the note comes to us, it's like any piece of evidence, Sheriff Chris Nanos told CBS News. You give it to us, you give us a lead, we're going to look at every aspect of that lead and work it as a lead. Meanwhile, and by the way, if this just turns out to be sick pranksters, like, dude, all this stuff is traceable. Okay? If you think you have an untraceable email, I'm telling you, you don't. Okay? Can I just talk about this for a second? This is a bit of a tangent, but no, it's germane. Okay? It's germane. I'm not going to get into the total details here, but let me just tell you how the internet works. Okay? The internet is distributed, meaning there is no central hub to the internet. It lives on a distributed network of routers and switches and hubs and all those devices, servers and devices and so forth, right? Every time a message is sent, even if you have a VPN, VPNs could help, but every time a message is bounced around that distributed network to the place that it needs to go, it is logged in a router. Okay? And many of those routers are also distributedly shared. So it's possible to find all of those things. And then when you take into consideration treaties, I know that there are very good VPN services out there that purport not to record anything, or they have delete schedules and so forth like that. I'm telling you that in many cases, what you think is protecting you or giving you anonymity is not, because of treaties that are in place, international agreements. Okay? So even if somebody thinks they have an untraceable email, it's going to be traced. I promise you, it's going to be traced. That's just my opinion. But anyway, Okay, meanwhile, investigators are examining evidence that could speak to the timeline of the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, who authorities believe was taken against her will from her Tucson area home over the weekend. Her pacemaker last sent a signal to her iPhone around 2 a.m. on Sunday, according to a source briefed on the investigation. Don't know who the source is. It's an unnamed source. You know how I feel about unnamed sources, but according to this source, her iPhone was left at the house. Now, what does this mean? I don't think that it means her heart stopped. I don't think it means that. I think that this is a modern pacemaker that connects via some sort of low voltage connection like Bluetooth or private Wi-Fi, most likely Bluetooth. And once it gets past a certain distance, they can't connect. I certainly hope it does not mean that the heart stopped. I think what it means is that the person, holding the pacemaker, was taken far away from the phone that was left at the house. Even as more information about the investigation is coming out, local law enforcement pushed back on claims that detectives have identified a suspect in the case. We're going to get to this. The sheriff's department asked the public Wednesday not to spread rumors about who may be responsible for the disappearance, saying they are speaking with, quote, anyone who may have had contact with Mrs. Guthrie. While we appreciate the public's concern, the sharing of unverified accusations or false information is irresponsible and does not assist in the investigation, the department posted on X. And while I really appreciate and respect what it is that they posted publicly, I also know that it's our right to talk about these things, and as long as we do so in a way that is tempered with compassion and humanity, we do it responsibly. We understand that, or we can talk about the nuance of it, not just blare out rumors. I think that we're safe to talk about these things. And we're going to get to that when we get to Banfield a little bit, okay? Media outlets received alleged ransom notes. At least 3 different media outlets, TMZ and CNN Tucson affiliates KOLD and KGU. Hey, Javi, can we take that one? Can we do a second tape? Can we fix that in post? KGUN report they received ransom notes earlier this week demanding millions of dollars in Bitcoin for Nancy Guthrie's safe return. Oh, that is, guys. Oh, okay. Hold on. We have a tangent, everybody. We have a tangent. That was what we need a sound for, a stinger for, is when I yawn. I was asking my mods, what was it that we said yesterday? Because it's not that I'm tired. It's I'm well, first of all, I'm off caffeine completely and have been since August, and I don't know. I think it's my breathing. When I'm reading, I tend to yawn for some reason. I exhale all the way. My body goes, we need oxygen in here, Gavin. And yeah, so we need a yawn button. Help me remember that. Help me remember that. Javi, will you remind my mods that I need a yawn button? Okay, going back. Here we are. Let's see. The outlets also describe the notes, or the outlets say the notes also describe specific evidence in Guthrie's home, where authorities say she was last seen on Saturday night. Nanos has declined to confirm whether those claims match the crime scene, but told CBS News investigators did not share the note with Savannah Guthrie. Okay. In response for a request for comment, yeah, we read that yesterday. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. It may or may not be of value, Fabian Pacheco said, but is still considered evidence. It's still considered a lead. Okay, so that's pretty much, investigators process evidence. Yeah, we heard about that. We heard about that. So now let's go to the Banfield thing. Now, then this is what happened. Yesterday evening, Ashley Banfield on her podcast, what is her podcast called? I can't remember. I can't remember the name of her podcast. It doesn't matter. On her podcast said that she had good, reliable sources close to the investigation who told her a couple of things. Okay, now I've got notes that I'm not going to show here that I just kind of took as I was or watching the video of her podcast. Okay, Banfield attributed to law enforcement sources that there is particular attention being paid to Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, a guy named Tommaso Cioni. Now, if I could just offer just a quick little, note to Banfield, who I respect. It's not Tommaso, at least in my experience. It's Tommaso, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so we talked about so according to Banfield, there were Nest security cameras in the home, plural, more than one. And not Ring cameras, specific Nest cameras. Now, when the sheriff at his press conference talked about how they were talking to different corporations trying to get more information, Banfield is saying that at least one of those corporations is Nest. If I remember correctly, Nest is owned by Google. Let me look at that. Who owns Nest? Who owns Nest? I think it's Google. Alphabet, who is Google's parent company. Yes. And I thought that Ring might have been related somehow, but no, Ring is owned by Amazon. So Nest is owned by Alphabet, which is Google's parent company. So Banfield is reporting that there were at least 2 Nest cameras at the home. Could have been inside the home, could have been outside the home. Again, when we looked at this photograph, and let me get to a place where I can drag it up. This does look like a Ring style or a Nest security camera mount that is missing, though we do not know if it was missing because it was broken and then taken by police or taken by a suspect. We don't know. What we know is that looks like a Nest or a Ring camera style doorbell mount. That's all I can say for sure. But according to Banfield, that there was more than one Nest camera and more than one was destroyed. Now, what she said is that suggested some sort of planning and familiarity with the property. I'm curious what you guys think about that. To me, that's if this is true, it does feel like there is familiarity, right? Either that or somebody who is just a thorough criminal. But I think that criminal is stupid if they think that smashing the cameras is going to somehow destroy the evidence. It certainly would keep new evidence from being collected, but I don't know. It seems like, well, and you guys know my iron law. My iron law of criminal mastermindery is that if you think you have what it takes to be a criminal mastermind, that is evidence in and of itself that you do not have what it takes to be a criminal mastermind. I stole that, by the way, and then named it my iron law. I'm a thief. But anyway, does that point to planning, familiarity with the property? I don't know that it points to planning. It may point to familiarity. Though, I mean, if you just have familiarity with Nest, you know what those cameras look like. You don't necessarily have to know what the property is. Though this property, if I could show a photo of it, let me just look up. It's a single story brick home. Let's see if I can get a. Give me a second. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of zoom in on this. This is what the home looks like. It looks like it has a little casita out the back, has a pool in the back, but this is a brick home, and it looks like a secure home. Like when we look at this photo, I mean, it has a storm door on it. It has a deadbolt. And of course, you guys, you know that I've talked about this before. Those locks are kind of easy to get into, but it does look like somebody who has spent a little bit of time trying to secure their home at the very least, right? It also looks like the kind of home that might be collecting rainwater with that white roof. What do I know? But anyway, so, I mean, if somebody comes at 2 a.m. to that house, you'd think that there would be some sort of indication that there has been some jiggering with the locks or something like that. I haven't seen that. Let's see, but okay. Familiarity with the property, I don't know. Law enforcement, according to Banfield, has taken the damaged cameras into evidence. They're attempting to retrieve any available cloud footage. They say that they are having delays obtaining that data. According to Banfield, the investigators believe the abduction occurred around 2 o'clock in the morning based on data from Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker. It says Banfield said the pacemaker was connected via Bluetooth to her Apple Watch and her iPhone. Investigators believe the disconnection at that time reflects physical separation from the device, is not a medical event. If it were a medical event, it would be logged as such. Okay, this one, according to Banfield, the back door of the home was reportedly found wide open. Now that, I want to look, and if you guys will just bear with me for a second, I want to look at, here's another picture of the home. Let me see if I can make it bigger for you. Let's go right there, and then can we kind of zoom in? So it doesn't look like there are bars on the windows or anything like that. But what I'm wondering is about the access to the back of the property. Let's see, aerial view. Let's see if we can see a good aerial view here. Okay, so it almost looks like maybe this area of the house is the garage, and you pull in behind and you pull into the garage. Looks like she's got, I mean, the thing about this neighborhood is they've got so many of those cactuses and desert landscaping that are tall. I mean, some of these look like they're 15, 20 feet tall. Very difficult for neighbors to see anything. But I don't know where the back door is. I would imagine it's on the back, right? Would somebody go through maybe this little gate right here? Let's see if I can, well, that doesn't look like a gate. That looks like it's like a cover up of the HVAC system. Maybe you just go through back here and open up the gate. Either way, Ashley Banfield reports that her source says that the back door of the home was found wide open. It's raised questions, obviously, about how the suspect or suspects entered the house, whether there was a confrontation there, and why, if they entered the back door, was there blood at the front door. Again, we don't know that blood came from a altercation or from anything having to do with a crime. We just believe that that's blood at the front door. Banfield also reported that a vehicle belonging to Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Annie, has been towed and impounded as evidence. Annie and her husband were the last known people to see Nancy alive, having dropped her off at her home around 9:45 p.m. the night before. So I don't know that is true. I just know that Banfield reported it. Now, according to Banfield, her source said that Annie Guthrie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, I did grab a picture of him. Is it irresponsible to show a picture of the guy? Let me just put it this way, okay, guys? We know that before, I am going to show his picture, but before I do, let's talk about the nuance of this, okay? And let's talk about how the police have said that, these rumors are untrue. Let's start there. Okay. But number two, in any investigation, especially of an 84-year-old woman, I would imagine that the first people that you would look at are the people closest to her, the people she was last seen with, and you would go with that inner circle first and then work out from there, right? So it could be that Tommaso is or was considered a suspect because he was one of the last people to be seen with Nancy or to see Nancy. It also could be on the other side of the spectrum that they have evidence, maybe DNA, maybe something else, maybe camera evidence that shows that he might be the suspect. When we say prime suspect, that doesn't mean, hey, police have zeroed in on this guy. This is the guy. No, it just means that maybe this is the first person they're looking at, right? Let's take the actual meaning of the word prime. So what Banfield is reporting is that her source is saying that Annie Guthrie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, is being closely examined and may be considered a prime suspect. And then again, and Banfield emphasized what I just emphasized, that family members are routinely the ones that are scrutinized and looked at first in cases like this. So it does not constitute even anything anywhere remotely approaching proof of guilt. Okay, I just want to be very clear about that, right? It just means that she's saying her source is that Tommaso Cioni is being looked at closely, and that's it. Let's see. A couple things that let's bring up Nancy Guthrie here. Mansfield said her sources said that investigators believe the perpetrator was someone familiar with Nancy Guthrie, her routines, the layout of her home. Abducting an 84-year-old woman with medical needs, mobility needs, would be a significant burden on the assailants, the kidnappers. So this might suggest a personal motive or maybe a financial motive rather than like a random crime, like a random break-in and try to steal valuables kind of thing. Banfield says that investigators are conducting extensive cell phone and geofencing analyses. They're canvassing neighborhoods. They're following up on tips. Let's see. Yeah, I think that those ransom messages probably are being treated with due skepticism. I mean, you sent it to TMZ. Come on. So anyway, those were my notes from Banfield's podcast, from Ashley Banfield's podcast. Again, a reporter that I admire and respect, and feel like probably is a responsible journalist on those things. And this is coming from somebody who makes at least part of my living as a journalist, though I am the local guy, right? Local reporter. So let's check in with all y'all and see what you guys are thinking here. Let me refresh my screen and scroll on up here. See what, okay, Mooney's taking care of me. The Javi button, oh, there needs to be a Javi button and a yawn button. Yes, yeah, thank you very much. New connection on Nancy Guthrie. It's on World News with David Muir, says Dandelion. Let me just do a quick little search on Nancy Guthrie. Breaking news. See if anything's coming up. I don't see anything newer than. Let's see. Here's one from Newsweek. Let me mute the tab just in case. President Trump called Savannah Guthrie. Okay, we learned that. Expert warns public to beware of social media claims and theories. Yeah, we need to be skeptical, for sure. News conference scheduled for tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain. So that'll be 1 p.m. my time. Yeah. A ransom note was sent to a local Arizona news station. This is yesterday. It's saying that it's somehow the ransom is connected to her net worth. Give me a break. So the map shows difficult terrain. Yeah, so I haven't seen anything new, Dandelion, but I will check it out after the show, okay? Eleanor from Uniontown, PA, welcome. Cochranton, shut up. Cochranton, PA, William Eastlick. I think I might know you. Welcome. Cochranton's in my neck of the woods, a beautiful little town. Okay. So Mama Mia says major police presence at Nancy's house right now. So let me just go over to NBC News real quick and see if there's anything. Anything that I'm seeing, or maybe let me try News Nation. I always do that mistake. It's newsnationnow.com, or maybe one of the local stations might have it. KGUN might have something. I don't see anything live, but that's fine. We're gonna run out of time. Thank you very much for that comment. I will be taking a look. Let's see. Yeah, you got to put GF in front of your comment for me to be able to see it. Starflower says, I believe the white roof is designed to protect the home from heat, not rain collection feature. You're probably right. That's out in the desert there. Vexatious Parrot says, is Gavin aware they're putting the crime scene tape back up and that law enforcement is at Miss Guthrie's house? Thanks for letting me know. I will check that out. Pretty awesome. I like Banfield. Yeah, I do. Polly says, is it not routine for the last person known to see her to be questioned intensely? I think that is pretty standard. Yes. And I think I've been pretty clear about that. Let's see. Mooney says, many chatters are saying Brian Enton is there as we speak and crime scene tape has been put back up. Emmy says they're putting crime scene tape back up. Good. Putting crime scene tape back up. Brian Enton is there. Good. Heavy police presence at the house right now. Excellent. So something's happening. Maybe we'll have to break back in here in a little bit with new news. And yeah, we might do that. I wonder, says Hannah Bell, if the blood is from when the person smashed the camera. If so, then that would be somebody other than Nancy, unless it was Nancy that smashed the camera, which seems kind of weird to me. But guys, tell you what, I will keep an eye on this, but for now, why don't you and me move on into 3 questions, shall we, Javi?
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow. Okay, guys, in this segment, I answer 3 questions that you sent into me, and what I hope you do is answer these questions as well. You can send questions into me, 3questions@gavinfish.com. It's all spelled out, 3questions@gavinfish.com. I solemnly promise to answer all of your questions in full. And if they're good questions, please put in the live stream how you would answer the question, and I will give you ample time to do that before we finish. Question number 1, Gavin, have you ever eaten crawfish? Indeed I have, though not in quantity. When we moved to Northern California as a kid, we could go and catch little crawdad. We called them crawdads or crayfish, but little crawfish. And I did. We boiled one, and I had a little piece of it when I was maybe 10 years old. Since then, no, not really a seafood guy. Question number 2. Let me get to the right screen. You often say something along the lines of, if you think you have what it takes to be a criminal, that's proof that you do not have what it takes. How do you explain cold cases like John Benet Ramsey and Amanda Winkowski? Or Ellen Greenberg, for that matter, or David Elmquist, for that matter? Actually, it's very simple, okay? If you have a police department that wants to solve the case and is not colossally hose up in their investigation of the case, it's very difficult to get away with a violent crime like this. It's hard. I explain cold cases like Jean Benet Ramsey and Amanda Winkowski exactly that way. The city of Buffalo, New York, Erie County, New York, colossally hosed up in their investigation into Amanda Winkowski, and then their incentives flip. Their incentives go from, hey, I want to solve a crime, to, hey, I don't want people to know that I didn't solve this crime. Same thing with Jean Benet Ramsey. Same thing with David Elmquist. Same thing with Ellen Greenberg. Time and time and time again. I'm a big believer in incentives dictating what human behavior is. If you don't know what I mean, read Freakonomics or Super Freakonomics. Both, really. Freakonomics is my favorite book that's ever been written, I think. Question number 3. What is your favorite snow day activity? Do you snuggle inside or tackle the great outdoors? Listen, my idea of camping, just as an example, my idea of camping is a 3-star hotel. Okay? I don't go in the outdoors. I just don't do that. I don't. I'm not an outdoor. I mean, look at me. Do I look like an outdoor kind of guy? No. I am a stay inside, light a fire in the fireplace, read, doom scroll, chat with friends and family. That is what I do. I do not tackle the great outdoors. Now, in short bursts, I like going on walk. Like today, I went for about an hour walk outside. I think it was 17 degrees. But not because I really wanted to, I guess. It was because I've committed to myself that I will go on a walk 3 days a week. Trying to say goodbye to Fat Gavin over here. Gotta be active. So yeah, I am an indoor cat. That is what I am. Now, I would love to know your answers to these questions, and I hope you tell me in the chat while we take a look at some other headlines. Here we go.
True crime headlines.
Pow. Okay, a couple of headlines that I want to bring to your attention tonight is that Neil Langston, who is an associate and friend of singer David, has appeared before a grand jury, not a jury, a jury in the Celeste Rivas investigation, at least according to TMZ. TMZ says that Neo showed up Wednesday to a Los Angeles courthouse where a grand jury has been convened since November to gather information on the death of Celeste Rivas, whose dismembered corpse was found last September inside David's Tesla. Remember, Neo was arrested in Montana and extradited back to California, where he then made bail for the purpose of testifying before the grand jury. He was mum as he was peppered with questions, the deputy DA as well, as they should be. Neo was in front of the grand jury for about 30 to 40 minutes, according to TMZ. Headline number 2, and this shocked me, the mother of missing children, Lillian Jack Sullivan, actually talked. This written by Allie Thompson and Angela McLevore, who have done terrific reporting on this case. Just a couple paragraphs of it. This was reported by the CBC. In an exclusive interview with CBC News, Cindy Murray says the 9 months since her 2 grandchildren went missing have been torture. Wait a minute. I thought it said mother. Hold on. Blah, blah, blah. In an exclusive interview with CBC News, members of Malia Brooks Murray's inner circle are sharing new details about her life at the time of the disappearance and how the family is coping as the tragedy continues to unfold. Quote, frustration comes to mind, especially when you sit there and you kind of feel like your hands are tied and there's not much that you can do, Angeline Maloney Arsenault, Brooks Murray's childhood best friend, said during a recent interview. So Brooks Murray has not spoken publicly about the case apart from one media interview during the initial search and a written statement she released through a volunteer search group. She has been heavily criticized in comments on social media for remaining silent, as armchair sleuths have speculated online about what happened to her children. So this is more like close friends are talking about Malia. Malia isn't talking about herself either. So apparently, the loved ones are saying that Malia Brooks Murray is taking it day by day. And then the last one that I want to bring to you, alleged Charlie Kirk shooter Tyler Robinson heads back to court to try to oust prosecutors from the case. This written by Andy Babineau, Elizabeth Wolf, and Nick Watt for CNN. Charlie Kirk's alleged shooter, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, sat stoically in a Utah courtroom Tuesday as a judge heard arguments over whether the prosecutor's office, which is seeking the DP against him, should be tossed from the case. Robinson's defense attorneys have argued the Utah County Attorney's Office mishandled a potential conflict of interest after discovering the prosecutor's teenage child was in the crowd when Kirk was fatally shot. Okay, it's an argument, not a particularly good argument, but it's an argument. The 18-year-old, who is a student at UVU, did not see the fatal moment or witness anybody in the crowd who may have been a suspect, prosecutors said. So, yeah, prosecutors are saying there's no conflict. Defense is saying, oh, definitely conflict here. I think that's probably going to land in the prosecution's favor. Now, let's go. Those are your headlines. Let's see what you guys are saying over here. Let's bring it up here. Boom. Sharky Sharona. For what it's worth, I busted out the It's Three Questions with Gavin Fish in the kitchen today. I was making English muffins. Awesome. It's a great little jingle, right? How about lion's roar when you yawn? Oh, Susie Q, that is a great idea. Lion roar. Oh, that is funny. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Maybe it could have little bubble sounds like it's a lion underwater roaring or something. Is Scrub Trauma says, wonder if they got cloud info back and saw something on the cam videos that sent them back to the house. I don't know. Tina Lucille says to question 1, yes, love crawdads. Question 2, law enforcement incompetence. Same thing as me. Question 3, let my dog run wild in the snow. You know, our first dog loved that. He loved when we moved from Sacramento to Reno, Nevada, and we had like a 100-year storm come through the first weekend that we were there. In fact, I was back in California, and Kimberly and the kids and the dog were there, and they tell stories of him jumping and just disappearing, and then he'd jump up out of the snow and disappear. He just loved it, loved it, loved it. Mooney says, best camping experience was camping in Acadia National Park, Maine in the winter on a huge rock. So much fun, but I was much younger. Very good. Joe the Cat Sarnia says, you are not fat. Walking is good for us. Joe, thank you. But I'm still overweight. I have lost 75-ish pounds, a little bit more now. But I still got a good 30 to go, man. And so I am in the process of saying goodbye to Fat Gavin for the rest of my life. And yes, walking is good for us. And Tina, you're right. I did forget about checking in with what your answers were. I was so worried about ending on time. Sorry about that. Garth B. Nutt says, I play games on my Switch. With my Switch 2 with my friend from the UK when I'm snowed in since my boys are grown. Doing the video game thing. Very good. Let's see. Yeah, I need to get, I will check what's going on there. Brent Nenton said 5 minutes ago, grid search happening in the wooded area around Nancy Guthrie's house right now, watching it with our drone. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Joe says, can your people reach out to Billy Bush Hot Mics? You should be on his show. Well, that implies that I have people. I have volunteers. Joe, if you would like to be on volunteer and reach out to Billy Bush to be on the Hot Mic, I would love to be on Billy Bush's podcast. I'd love to. Ohio Palm Mom says you need a cartoon of a lionfish roaring underwater. Okay, guys, this is smart. This is smart. Reuter says I hate camping too. Well, yes, I do have Javi. You're right. You're right. I have Javi. Javi is my producer. Javier is a good producer. He switches buttons. Well, no, he doesn't switch buttons. He pushes buttons. He switches levers. You know, he spins rotating wheels. You know, he does that sort of stuff. He doesn't really reach out to other. He's my producer. I need a booking producer. That's what I need. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Those of you who stayed to the end, I really, really appreciate you. Want to just quickly give a quick plug for the website like I always do. You're always welcome to reach out to me on my website by clicking on the envelope in the upper right-hand corner. There's lots on the website, lots of case files. There are Crime Cod articles, which is my true crime website. There are blog posts. There's just so much there, but if you want to reach out to me, this is the best place to do it. Or click on the little fishy icon. That will take you to the fish tank where we hang out on Facebook and chat and talk and comment and share. And if you're on Facebook, you are cordially invited to join us. With that, if there's just a couple more, Tina says, disguise your voice and pretend you're an assistant for yourself. Wouldn't be the first time somebody's done that. Funny. I do have the best mods and the best chat. That is true. That is true. Volunteers, each one of them. And if you would, do as Nightbot says, please buy my lead mod, Autumn, a coffee. She is our wrangler and she is amazing. Thank you guys for joining me. We will be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern. I will keep my eyes on this because there might be breaking news. But anyway, we'll keep our eye on this and maybe come back to it. I do want to talk a little bit about the Tepe case. So that might be tomorrow because we got some information out of the autopsy report that tells me that a magazine was emptied on that couple. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow. It depends on what's happening on this case. Either way, I hope that I see you there, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. And until then, I bid you adieu, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.